Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow, one and only truth pimp, dealing you a vulgar display of logic and reason on a daily basis. Today, I'm going to play a doctor. No, I'm not a doctor, but I did take a dump at a McDonald's yesterday, so I'm somewhat qualified to make these types of assessments. Before I get into that, surely you know what I'm talking about, right? Everybody by now knows that poor old Joe Biden has prostate cancer. Now, this announcement has some curious timing to it because it comes right on the heels of just a couple of days ago of the Her report, where the full recording when Her was talking to Joe Biden to determine what was wrong with him, how bad off he was, and if he did in fact illegally store secure documents like they accused Trump of, and they found that he did. But they also found during the interviews that he was too old and depleted of an old man to stand any kind of trial, so they did not press charges against him. Remember that. I mean, they scrubbed that away quick. But that's the reason why was he was too old and stupid and feeble to be able to stand any kind of a trial. So let it go. It would appear that they're trying to now sweep that under the rug, I guess for purposes of Biden's legacy or something, to now cover all of that up, because in 2 days, actually, Jake Tapper's book comes out where they claim that they were lied to. The media was lied to, which the media was complicit in helping cover up how stupid and mentally retarded that Joe Biden had become. So that book is coming out also. So I feel like this is a way for the Biden administration to try to stomp all that out and, again, protect Biden's legacy. Now, you might be thinking, well, it's a cancer diagnosis that they just found 7 days ago. Really? I mean, you really believe that? This was a card they were waiting to play. This is a video, real quick, if you haven't seen it already, where Biden slipped up because he was beginning to become mentally retarded 2 years ago when he told the world that he had cancer.
My mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Now, Biden's handlers came out immediately after that and said, oh, he wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about people in general. Really? How many times do you, at a press conference, a formal press conference, not hanging out and just shooting the bull with your boys, how many times have you accidentally told people that you have cancer? Ever? No, that's not something you accidentally. That's like saying I'm accidentally pregnant. It's just not something that you let slip. Whoopsie daisy, I forgot that I wasn't pregnant. I forgot that I didn't have cancer. No, the man was slipping off into dementia wonderland and accidentally told the truth for once in his decrepit, horrible, destructive, evil life. Now, I don't feel sorry for Biden. If there's anybody in his family who is a decent person, I feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for Jill Biden. I think Jill Biden is a monster. I think Jill Biden is behind most of the suffering that Joe Biden probably has gone through. But make no mistake, while I might feel sorry for Joe Biden to a certain degree because they pranced around a mentally deficient vegetable for nearly 4 years, I don't really feel sorry for him as a person because Joe Biden was an asshole. And Joe Biden was always an asshole. Always. He was an evil person. He's corrupt. He's mean. He's obviously twisted, showering with his daughter whenever she was in her teen years. That's not something you just normally do. You bathe your 3-year-old. You don't bathe your 13-year-old, right? Or your 16-year-old. So the guy's got problems. The guy's corrupt, evil, crooked, everything. I'm not one of these guys that when somebody dies or gets terminally sick, that suddenly all their sins are forgiven. No, if you lived your life as a piece of crap, if you lived your life as an asshole like Joe Biden, when you die, you're a dead asshole. And in this case, he is an asshole who has cancer. Don't feel sorry for him. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole karma thing. That's a belief system that you either do or don't have. I'm not subscribing to any of that. Because it's not fair to say that, because what about all the good people who have cancer, right? That's not karma on them. So I'm not into that kind of stuff. But what I am saying is I don't feel bad for the guy. I have to repeat, I feel sorry for any decent people that might be in the Biden family. I don't know of any. But I do feel bad for that. But I know we're being lied to. Biden slipped up, said he had cancer. And I know you might be thinking, oh yeah, maybe he really did slip up because he, did have a screw loose and was losing his marbles. No, that's not true. I did a little bit of digging. I looked at a lot of the different press releases that describes Biden having cancer, right? And as I always state, words mean things. I know that sounds corny and that sounds like a cliche, but you gotta read all the words. And sometimes they give you the clues or even the answers in their words because they think that most of us are too lazy to investigate. I investigated. This is the CNN report. You're going to see this same wording in all of these reports. I want you to skip all the way down to the third paragraph right there. It continued, quote, while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. You understand what they're talking about right there, right? Okay, so they're claiming that stage 4 cancer that they did not know about 12 months ago when he had a physical, that suddenly he has stage 4 cancer. Went from 0 to stage 4 in 12 months. That's very unlikely to begin with, just from a chronological standpoint. That's not how things work. There are aggressive forms, but prostate cancer is not a very aggressive form. That just would be super rare. Not impossible, being honest and trying to be fair here. It's not impossible in 12 months to go from stage 0 to stage 4. But it's very, very, very unlikely. But back to the hormone treatment. Notice they stated that the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. What it means to be hormone sensitive is that they have tested hormones on his cancer and it shows that it's responding. And what it means by responding, just to give you a really quick high level view from a guy that took a dump at McDonald's, not a doctor. When you introduce hormones into the male body, you're introducing them to block androgen. Androgen production somewhat feeds the prostate cancer, so it can make it worse. So what you want to do is you want to cut that androgen level off. Now you can castrate a person, but that's not always your go-to your first time, which I doubt Biden uses the figs anyway. But nevertheless, that is one way. But usually by introducing hormones into the body, it will block that androgen, in turn starving that prostate. So you will see that prostate start to, or at least the cancer cells start to diminish a little bit because you're literally starving it from that androgen. Essentially, the levels of male hormones, including androgens like testosterone, can be reduced to slow that cancer growth. Again, unchecked, these male hormones will feed that prostate cancer cell to let them grow. Hormone therapy, they call it ADT in this case, that's androgen deprivation therapy, might be used to reduce those levels of these hormones. So I went back again and read that. I want you to pay particular attention to these words. The cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective treatment. The only way to know that if your cancer that you have, including Joe Biden in this case, is to test that hormone to see if it's going to affect or block that androgen, right? So you have to test it. It's not a one size fits all. So that it doesn't have the same effect on everybody's body. In fact, stage 4 would be a little bit tough, a little bit difficult. But you introduce the hormones, it's supposed to block the androgen, and you should see those levels, those Gleason levels, come down. That's how you determine whether or not that hormone therapy is being effective. So again, you don't just look at the type of cancer and determine that it will be responsive to the hormone therapy. You actually have to introduce that hormone therapy, see how the cancer responds, and then you declare whether or not hormone therapy is a feasible way to treat that particular cancer in Joe Biden. Well, in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, wait, they found that he had cancer 1 week ago, 7 days ago, did a biopsy and everything, and they declare that his body, within that 7 days of discovering the cancer, they already know that the hormones are affecting the cancer, so they say it's responsive to it, meaning they've already run the test. That seems kind of fast. I understand he's a former president of the United States, and that if he needs an MRI or something like that, or even a biopsy, he's going to get it right away. He's the president of the United States. But some things you don't just demand and they happen. Some things have to take or run a course, right? You can't demand that, hey, hormones, hurry up. Let me see if Joe Biden's cancer is responsive to it. So I dug a little bit deeper. Simple internet search. I asked, how long does it take to determine if prostate cancer is responsive to hormonal treatment? Look at the answer. It takes approximately 1 to 5 months to determine if prostate cancer is responsive to hormone therapy, typically by monitoring the PSA levels. Doctors will regularly test PSA levels to see if the cancer is shrinking or if it's becoming resistant to the treatment. So you can't tell the cancer cells, hey, hormone treatment's on the way, you better go away. No, you introduced it into the body and you wait. And in this case, the minimum amount of time is 1 month. It's been 1 week. It's been 7 days. And they're saying at a minimum, it takes 30 days to see if the cancer is responsive. They're lying. They've known for more than 7 days. Now, we know they're lying. I'm simply trying to provide you the proof. So when people get mad at you because you don't feel bad for these liars, you can tell them they're lying and this is why. There's no way that they just discovered this man's cancer. In fact, I've heard oncologists talk this week on the radio talking about how they think at the stage that it's at, he's probably had it for over a decade, 10 or 12 years. But they're trying to act like, remember what's happening in the background. Remember how I always say, keep an eye on the prize. You've got the Her report coming out saying that he was mentally retarded, essentially, the recordings, and you have Jake Tapper's book coming out, and all the Democrats are bailing on Joe Biden. He's worried about his legacy. Boom. Let's go for the sympathy vote. Let's tell everybody now that we have cancer. It's all being planned. It's all a lie. I do believe he has cancer, but I think they decided to let us know now instead of 5 years ago before the first election, and they hid it from us. This is not something that just pops up like this. This is almost an impossibility. I will hold out that it's not an impossibility just because theoretically it could happen, but you don't go to stage 4 cancer in less than 12 months. And this is a guy who is no stranger to doctors. Let's be honest about that. You don't think they've been able to run a PSA test on him in the last 12 months? You don't think that this guy has every possible kind of test run on him on a regular basis, especially when he was leader of the free world? Yeah, they're lying to us. Again, hormonal therapy, you don't find out if you're cancer responsive to it in 7 days. These people are lying to your face, and I'm here to call them out.